Well guys, another intriguing update from EW's The Hunting Lodge Livestream held today, where we actually got our first look at the Emerald Coast map. It's absolutely stunning, and what's really neat about it is that this first look confirmed a theory of mine that I posed several videos back about why is it a map and not a reserve. Jaxie Beard did confirm it has something to do with the storyline, and it is not a reserve because it is privately owned land. Now, while Australia does have a number of animal reserves within its borders, a lot of the research I did suggests that most of the hunting is done on private land, so this makes a lot of sense. It seems like by going through the storyline, we'll learn if this privately owned hunting land is something that we need to protect, preserve, rebuild, because once he got to the first lodge that you'll be able to go to once you spawn in, it's not so much a travel through lodge like a recreational lodge. He frequently referred to it as a working camp. Once he got to the outpost, Jaxie Beard spent a lot of time going over the tent customization, which begs the question, will tents be stackable if you customize them? He wasn't quite sure, and I don't feel like we got a definitive answer. He did say that they appear to be at one point, but he did say that he also wanted to talk to the devs about that, because you'd have to be very careful with your customization, and I would imagine make sure every zone aligns each time you customize in order to make them stackable. That's a really good question, and I hope they figure that out. Also, not only are tents customizable, the ground blinds are as well. With that customization comes the Leighton Lakes customization pack, which we've all been wanting for a while. It has some muted tones to it, lots of greens, lots of tans. The wood grains are going to include things like pine, which I think is a really neat addition, especially for the Pacific Northwest. When it comes to customization, we'll have all sorts of really neat options. Now, as he was scrolling through to get to the tent customization, he did breeze past decoys and gave us a sneak peek that I don't think he was supposed to on the magpie geese decoys that'll be coming out with this release. He said he wasn't supposed to show us that, but things happen. It is a live stream. And along that vein, he also said that there'll be some changes to the collars in the game, which I assume means that we'll get collars for things like the magpie goose and maybe kangaroo. Speaking of which, we did get to hear our kangaroo call as part of the experience, and while he would not look at them because he was told not to, we did get to hear them call, and it was a very interesting sound. And we also got to see the outline of one, which excites me because that's like the first animal I'm going for. Now, the big things he took us through were the preliminary patch notes. There are several species populations that are going to get a reset. The reasons why they're getting a reset are pretty awesome. Firstly, animals like the red deer and the feral goat have gotten a complete rework in their fur, which we all know, at least for red deer, it has been needed for a really long time. So with the animal fur rework, they're going to get a population reset. He did say that this shouldn't affect your grinds too much, except maybe, you know, the levels of the animals you have, because it's all about the population ranges and not necessarily the need zones themselves. Need zones have changed in recent years so that they're not like clockwork in the way they used to back in 2017 and 2018 timeframe. More emphasis is placed on the home ranges where those need zones exist. But it's still a population reset, which EW doesn't take lightly. Now, other animal populations that are going to get reset are the springbok and the European and plains bison, because they are being finally introduced to the true rack system, which is really cool because I've been doing some bison hunting lately, and I've noticed that a lot of the racks on the bison are kind of consistent. There are not a lot of ways to tell if one's bigger, if one's smaller. A lot of people have been calling for a true size system for that species, just because all the animals look fairly uniform in size, despite being, say, a level 1 versus a level 5. But it's going to be really cool to see what those new true racks look like on both the springbok and the European and plains bisons. Other animals that are going to get reset include alligator, because with the crocodile coming out, they wanted to do some behavioral tweaks, which includes aggressiveness. So they are no longer going to be sort of passive, just lying around on the shore. You can expect them to attack you. The final animal that's going to get a population reset is the bobcat, and that's because they're making some tweaks to their need zone times and some of their home range activities. One of the things I'm most excited about is, just like New England mountains, there's not a lot of emphasis, it seems, on huge bodies of water, like huge lakes on Leighton Lake or Park Fernando that it takes forever to run around to pick up your harvest. I was really glad to see that. Not that I imagine that there's a lot of those in the outback anyway. He did talk readily about the biomes in this map. We started out on Dry Bones Plateau, which had water on it, but he also warned us not to give the name too much credence, to take it with a grain of salt, because obviously there's going to be these little pocket environments that you can get into as you're roaming the map. But if you look on the right-hand side, it looks like we'll have a delta area and that jungle that we saw in that sneak peek image they released on Twitter not too long ago. I'm really excited to just see more of those spaces and get a feel for what they're going to be like. Another thing to come out of equipment stuff is that the 223 Docent, it's getting a boost to its power to make it also capable of bringing down whitetail, as he demonstrated in the live stream. This is really cool because if you followed me at all, you know that the 223 for me is one of my favorite box hunting guns. And yeah, I've noticed over time that it has less power and have often wanted it to have that little bit of a bump. And so we're getting it with this update, which means we'll have to carry less to be able to harvest more. That's pretty awesome. It will be in the same vein as the Varminter 22 TAC 250 that we should expect with this update as well, which is another weapon I'm really excited to see the capability on. He did not showcase that today, but he says we won't want to miss the stream on the 13th, and more on dates in just a few minutes. Also, with the DLC will be coming the brand new outfit for our hunters that is Australian themed, and the good news on that, it is not locked behind the DLC paywall. You can actually purchase the new outfit with in-game cash, which is a really neat accessibility point that EW threw in there. I think that's awesome, guys. Kudos to you for making that happen. A couple of more minor things is that there was a change to the UI button for PC users. It will now default to U instead of C. So if you want to switch it back because you're used to it, you're going to need to do that in the settings. And there was some breezy talk about new multi-mounts, but he said he was going to leave that to the content creators when they get early access to kind of show those things off. Now let's talk the really important thing, dates. When's it coming out? What can we expect next? Well, he did say that next week on June 6th, there will not be a live stream because it's a holiday in Sweden. He did strongly stress that we need to be there on June 13th because he'll go more in depth, possibly into some of the animals on the map. Maybe we'll get to sight some this time. But yeah, it should include a lot of new things as well. As far as a release date, we don't have one yet, but they did say they'll let us know as soon as they have one. And the estimate is that we're about a month out from release. That puts it in the last week of June or the first week of July. So I'm guessing that's about when we can expect the formal release to drop. If you're super excited about any one thing about this map, whether it's the biomes, the storyline, the new animals we get to hunt, I think the ones I'm most excited about are the bantang, kangaroo, obviously, and then the 3 new deer species like the hog, the rusa, and the sambar. I'm really excited to see what those animals look like. So let me know in the comments below what you're most excited about. That's gonna do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on my recap of today's The Hunting Lodge livestream, and I hope to see you on my next adventure. Bye!